Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. 3 years ago, I was downstairs walking through the house on my way to do something, and I heard a little voice that said, "Make a dress." About 3 years prior to that, I had struggled with, or maybe it was four, I don't remember, struggled with trying to heal from a head injury, and these things take time. They take a lot of time. And you still, even now, I have sometimes some of the symptoms or the outcome. If I'm extremely tired, if I don't get the rest that I need, I can kind of feel that way again. So I thought that it was just that head injury. Make a dress. It made no sense because I couldn't sew. I didn't sew. In fact, if something got a tear on it, I would look at it and be like, "Nice knowing you." Um, yeah, that was odd. Earlier that year, I had been in Singapore and I found this really beautiful silk. It was just so light and airy and amazing. And there was only one piece of it. And I asked the man in the store about it. And I looked at the price tag and it was more than, the cost of everything else in there. And I said, "Do you have more of this?" And he said, "No, that's all of that. It is handmade." I said, "Ooh." I had a friend who's a wonderful tailor. And I said, "Oh, I'll bring that back for her, along with a few other pieces." So I had those things because as my life was then, I would get back from one trip and have to repack and go on another trip. And that happened and happened and happened. And I hadn't gotten the fabric to her. So when I heard that voice say, "Make a dress," I remembered that I had that fabric. But still, I didn't have any patterns. I didn't know how to sew on a sewing machine. I said, "Well, I don't have a pattern." And the same voice said, "Make a pattern." "Fatima, do you have any paper?" I called my daughter. And she said, "I have some tracing paper. You can tape that together and use it." So I kind of cut this thing out and I looked at it and I said, "That doesn't make sense. If I put two of these together, and then you have to be a flat object to fit in there." So I drew some curves and things, and one side was slightly different than the other, and it made all the sense in the world for what I was doing. I put it down. I cut the fabric. I was actually, let me back up. Before I cut the fabric, I stood over it. And I looked at it and I said, "This is the craziest thing in the world, and I don't know why I'm doing this, and so I'm just going to put this away. I'm not cutting this fabric. This fabric is too precious. It's for my friend." The voice said, "She didn't know you brought it." I said, "Yeah, but the fabric is precious." And that same voice said, "So are you." And I cut into you, and now you're better. In fact, you're standing here listening to voices that are telling you to make a dress. I cried on that fabric. I cried on my little pattern, and I cut the fabric. I didn't know how to use a sewing machine, so I sat down and hand stitched it. Now, Fatima knew how to use a sewing machine. I made sure all my kids knew how to have all those skills if they ever needed them, except I didn't get them, and that's why I wanted them to have them. She kept saying, "Let me just sew it in the machine. It'll take 2 seconds." I said, "No, no, no. The voice told me to make a dress." And she just kind of looked at me like she's hearing things now. Just walked out of the room, and I kept stitching. I kept sewing. I kept working on it. It didn't take a long time, but when I was done, I held it up and I looked at it and I said, "I cut this too small. It's not going to fit my big old body." And Fatima said, "You don't know that, and you don't really see yourself. Try it on." So I slipped it on, got into my room, slipped it on, slipped it over my head. It slid down my body almost on its own, and I began to cry. It was perfect. And Fatima said, "Oh my God, Mom, look at what you did." I said, "Yes, amazing." The fit was just I was so proud of myself. I wore it to church the next day. One of my friends said, "Did you lose weight?" I said, "No, I made my dress." She said, "Give me a hug, girl." I said, "No, it may fall apart." The next day I made another dress, and the next day I made another, and they were all beautiful. I called my friends in and I gave my clothes away. And I said, I'm either going to learn to sew or I'm going to have 3 dresses. You see, when I was a girl, they would tease me and say, "You can tell what day of the week it is by what dress you have on." I only had 3. I knew what it was like to have just 3, and it would be okay. But every day, I made something new, and my skills improved and they got better. Today, I'm wearing that dress. It's got some flaws. It doesn't have pockets like most of my clothes do. Sometimes I'm tempted to go back and make it again, but there's something about wearing this thing that I created when I didn't know anything. And this fabric is so delicious. I can hear some of you saying, "Stand up and let us see it." But the point is not my dress. The point is this, that there are skills and crafts and abilities and things inside of you that you've never paid attention to. There is art and joy and craftsmanship and creativity that you've never paid attention to. And while you're busy looking at what someone else is wearing and what someone else is doing, every time you pick my favorite this or your favorite of my that, you are stifling the voice that's telling you, you are my favorite, you are my beloved, and in you there are gifts that you've never unpacked. Be still, listen, and find your gift. I love you.